Have you seen them? Those people around you who carry danger behind their calm smile. It's not the obvious kind of danger. No, it's something more subtle and easily missed, the type that creeps in slowly, making you question your own mind before you question theirs. Welcome back to Evolving the Narrative. In today's video, we're sharing 5 of the most disturbing psychological signs you should never ignore. These aren't random quirks, but red flags rooted in real psychological research. Recognizing them early can protect you from serious harm. Prepare yourself, because these signs may just make the difference between a close call and being taken advantage of. Let's start with the one that fools almost everyone. Sign number 1. Charm that hides danger. Maybe you meet someone who feels like a breath of fresh air. They're confident without being arrogant, or warm without being pushy. They talk about their family with apparent tenderness, share stories that make you laugh, and seem genuinely interested in your life. There's no awkwardness, no hesitation, just smooth, effortless connection. It feels too good to be true, right? That's because it is. What you're seeing is called the mask of sanity, a term coined by psychiatrist Cleckley in 1941. In his studies on psychopaths, he described people who could perform emotional warmth without feeling it. People who understood what empathy looked like, but couldn't genuinely experience it. Behind their charm is a colder truth. You're not a person to them, you're a tool. When observed carefully, you will find that their mask slips from time to time. They make grand promises about changing their life, about loyalty and responsibility, but their actions never match. They convince you to lend them money, co-sign something important, or give one last chance, only to vanish or sabotage the opportunity for no clear reason. And here's the disturbing part. Their warmth switches on and off based on what they want, not what you need. When they need something, you're bathed in attention. Once they have it, you're met with indifference or cruelty. If being around someone feels like you're constantly being auditioned, sold to, and then discarded, you're not dealing with a personality trait, you're dealing with charm as a means of manipulation. In the realm of serial killers, where psychopathy traits often overlap, you can find many examples of this charm through figures such as Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy. However, manipulation doesn't always announce itself with smoothness. Sometimes it arrives as confusion, making you doubt the ground beneath your feet. This brings us to our next dangerous sign. Sign number 2. Constantly gaslighting you. Imagine living in a reality where nothing stays factual. Events you clearly remember never happened. Objects you placed carefully go missing, only for someone to mock your forgetfulness. Hurtful words you heard, word for word, are flatly denied, as if you invented them. This is gaslighting, and it's one of the most psychologically damaging patterns you can experience. Sociologist Paige Sweet studied this in 2019 and found that gaslighting isn't just about lying for the fun of it. It's about systematically making someone question their own sanity. Survivors describe it as living in a twilight zone, where their perception of reality becomes less trustworthy than the abuser's calm explanations. Sounds scary. When your everyday life starts feeling surreal and you begin doubting your own mind more than the other person's behavior, that's a major red flag. What makes gaslighting especially dangerous is how abusers weaponize social stereotypes. They label their partner as crazy, hysterical, or irrational whenever they show normal anger or confusion. Over time, every emotional reaction becomes proof that they're unstable, while the abuser's tone stays calm and rational. This doesn't just hurt feelings, it strips the target of credibility with friends, family, and institutions, making it nearly impossible for them to be believed when they ask for help. And unfortunately, gaslighting rarely stays verbal. It's paired with concrete control tactics, hiding phones or keys, monitoring messages, spinning false stories about authorities watching, or even threatening to use immigration status or mental health records against them. Your world shrinks. Your fear grows, and seeking help starts to feel more dangerous than staying silent. Here's an example for your own life. If your social circle is disappearing, your movements are being policed, and you're terrified that reaching out will be turned against you, you're not experiencing a communication problem. You're experiencing a full-blown rewriting of reality. Essentially, this kind of manipulation negatively rewires how you see yourself. But there's another pattern just as chilling, one where harm is dealt without a flicker of remorse. Sign number 3. Causing harm with zero guilt. Picture someone describing a serious betrayal, abandoning their family, causing financial ruin, harming others to get ahead, with the same tone you'd use to recount a boring commute. No shame, no discomfort, maybe even a hint of amusement. This absence of guilt is profoundly unsettling when seen in person. Most people carry the weight of their mistakes. For the average person, guilt shapes future choices and keeps us tethered to a sense of right and wrong. But for some, the past means nothing. They can say the right words. It's all my fault. I feel terrible. But their voice, their body language, the speed at which they move on, all suggest the phrases are empty. For this type of individual, remorse is performed, not felt. What's worse is how this plays out in relationships. They can act devoted to a partner or child, speak movingly about their importance, yet repeatedly put them in danger or distress without changing course. Affection, when it exists, is shallow. Other people matter mainly as sources of admiration, excitement, or practical benefit. When relationships stop serving their needs, they walk away or escalate harm with startling indifference, leaving you to pick up the shattered pieces. Clinically, this pattern is tied to personality structures where empathy and genuine remorse are markedly impaired. According to research published in Stat Pearls, people with antisocial traits understand what remorse is supposed to look like and can imitate it when useful, apologizing theatrically, promising transformation, even crying at the right moment. But their later behavior shows no real course correction. If someone keeps causing serious harm and then bounces back emotionally as if nothing happened, showing irritation only when consequences limit them, you're not witnessing bad luck. Instead, you're witnessing an absence of real remorse, a storm that you don't want to get caught in. The reality is, this lack of remorse often pairs with another disturbing sign, one that starts early and never truly stops. Sign number 4. Persistent rule-breaking and unreliability. Some people carry a lifelong pattern of violating rules and other people's rights that begins in youth and never stops. In many antisocial adults, there's a documented history of conduct problems before age 15, repeated fights, cruelty to animals, vandalism, fire setting, theft, bullying, truancy. These aren't occasional teenage rebellions. They're frequent, deliberate, and largely immune to school, family, or legal interventions. By late adolescence, this style of relating to rules and other people is already firmly in place. As they reach adulthood, the same blueprint emerges in new areas. They drift from job to job, get fired for unreliability or misconduct, and ignore financial responsibilities like rent or child support. Romantic relationships can also become chaotic, marked by infidelity, exploitation, and devastating emotional or physical abuse. Partners describe being used and discarded. What makes this pattern so disturbing is its consistency. Teachers, employers, partners, and family members across many years all tell similar stories of harm and rule-breaking. According to Fisher, Torrico, and Haney's research on antisocial personality disorder, this isn't immaturity. It's a deeply rooted antisocial style that tends to persist. When someone's life history reads like the same script, repeated, early aggression, chronic lying, serious rule violations, adult exploitation, and crime, it signals something far more serious than a rough patch. It should be taken very seriously and not ignored. That leads us to the final sign, one that might look like fearless confidence, but is actually something much, much darker. Sign number 5. Living like consequences don't exist. Ever notice that person who could care less about consequences? Many high-risk individuals seem to live in a state of chronic under-arousal, seeking intense experiences just to feel normal. They appear unusually fearless in situations where others would feel anxious. Speeding, fighting, dangerous stunts, or heavy substance use barely register as concerning. At first, this can look exciting, even admirable, bold, the fun guy or gal. But underneath is a pattern of consistent, reckless disregard for their own safety and the safety of others. What's particularly disturbing is how many of their antisocial acts don't even make practical sense. They steal small, unnecessary items despite having money. They sabotage a job they claim to want. They start a fight that ruins probation for no obvious gain. These acts are often casual and poorly planned, more like reflexive risk-taking than calculated crime. The cost to work, relationships, freedom, health far outweighs any reward, yet the person seems unmoved by the damage. Over time, you see that punishment, warnings, and painful outcomes do little to change their behavior. They can explain perfectly well what they should have done differently. In conversation, they might even give wise advice about choices and consequences. Yet when faced with real decisions, they fall into the same high-risk loops, as if experience never truly sinks in. In the end, they could care less what you think or want. If someone repeatedly cycles through dangerous behavior, serious fallout, smooth explanations, and then back to the same risks, you're not just seeing impulsivity, you're witnessing a profound failure to learn from life itself, which could be a psychological sign of a much deeper cause. With that, our list comes to a close. These 5 signs aren't isolated events. They're patterns rooted in decades of clinical research, patterns that survivors, clinicians, and researchers have documented again and again. Recognizing them early isn't about judgment. It's about protection. You deserve relationships where warmth is genuine, where your reality isn't questioned, where harm is followed by real remorse. When you see these signs, you're paying attention to hidden currents, and paying attention might be the most important thing you do. Stay aware. Thank you for joining me on this exploration into 5 disturbing psychological signs you should never ignore. If this resonated, please share your experience with dangerous people in the comments below, and subscribe for weekly psychology content designed to help you transform your life. Until next time.